Sometimes there's a very personal reason why I start writing a book or a series of books. Now, at the beginning of last year, my youngest daughter Emma was starting grade 1. And I was looking forward to this school year so much because obviously grade 1 is the year when they really start learning to read. Now, learning to read is one of the most exciting journeys any kid can embark on. I was looking forward so much to teaching her the joys of books and watching her discover all the magic that lies within the pages of a book. And then she ended up not liking reading as much as I wanted her to. And I spoke to her and she told me that she didn't like the books we had in our house. Now, to me, that was bad news because our house is filled with books. And it turned out that most of the beginner readers that we had in our home, she'd already read with her older sister, who was 2 years older, and we obviously also went through the same process. So she knew these books by heart. And in addition to that, she didn't like the stories. She told me the stories sounded like schoolwork, they weren't funny, and they weren't fun. Now, to an author like me, that sounded like a challenge. So what I did was I went and I used 2 of my favorite characters. This crocodile called Croque, and this little green pickle called Dill, who feature in this book that was published at the beginning of last year called Croque Indo. Now, the first Croque Indo book was a collection of comics for beginner readers featuring these 2 characters. But what I went and did was I wrote a beginner reader series featuring Croque Indo. I didn't want to make it feel like schoolwork. I wanted to create funny stories that would make kids laugh out loud and that would teach them to read without feeling that they are supposed to be learning something. These are the first 10 books in the Croque Indo series. All of these books focus on different sounds that kids should learn while they're reading, and I hope kids are going to have lots of fun with these books. I received my copies of these books recently, and the first thing I did was to give them to my youngest daughter, who's now in grade 2, and let her read them. And the most beautiful sound I ever heard in my life was hearing her giggling and guffawing and roaring with laughter while reading about Croque Indo. And I honestly hope that lots of kids will have as much fun reading Croque Indo as I had writing these stories. There's also a second level of the series coming out soon, level 2, and hopefully early next year we'll have level 3 on the shelves. And I'm also planning a lot of exciting projects around this series. So I really hope all of you are going to enjoy the adventures of Croque Indo. Over the years, quite a few of my friends have adopted kids. And for me, it's been a wonderful journey seeing the process where they meet these children for the first time, the huge expectations that they have, the joy that they experience getting a new child, and the bond that forms within an adoptive family. And I think there's many misconceptions about adoptive families. I've heard many of my friends complain in the past that especially in Afrikaans, there aren't many books dealing with the topic of adoption. So I've had this in the back of my mind for a few years. Then, I think it was about 2 years ago, an opportunity came across my path that I just couldn't ignore. In the Free State, in Bloemfontein, where I live, there's an organization called ENGO, and they are a non-profit, non-government organization, and they help adoptive families. They help with the adoption process, they help getting the family settled, and they do wonderful work. And they called me and they asked if I wouldn't consider doing a project with them, maybe writing a book that could be used in therapy situations. And we started talking, and the topic of adoption came out, and I told them I would love to write a book about adoption. But I didn't really want to write a therapy book. I'm not a children's psychologist, I'm not a social worker, but I started speaking to some of their social workers, and I came up with the idea for a picture book that could help adoptive families. Just a gentle, fun book that looks at the adoptive process and that sort of normalizes it and shows that it can be fun, that it doesn't have to be a difficult topic, that shows how much fun there can be within an adoptive family. But also for families that aren't adopted, where the kids have adoptive families or kids from adoptive families in their school, to show them or to tell them a little bit about the adoption process. So this book is called You Are a Wish. It's also available in Afrikaans as Jy is 'n Wens. And it's a beautiful picture book illustrated by Tumi Steyn, with a rhyming text that deals with different adoptive families. As you can see, the illustrations are absolutely gorgeous, and it starts like this. Oh, how we wished and we wished for someone just like you, someone special to share our home and the special times too. And the feedback that I've had from real adoptive families so far has been absolutely amazing. I'm donating all of my royalties from the sale of this book to Indo so that they can continue helping families with this wonderful, wonderful process where new loving families are formed.
Hi. So how did we come from die kunsmaak, ek weet ek laat daai titel, is so lekker Afrikaans, to writing a novel? Well, I actually wrote Om Jou Te Ken very, very quickly. I wrote it in 3 weeks and I edited it in 6 months, which talks about the writing process. But Om Jou Te Ken was inspired by my relationship with my cousin. When we grew up, a lot of our parents worked, so all of my cousins would gather around in my grandmother's house, and we kind of grew up as one big family. Now in Afrikaans you say you have a gesin, which is your core people, and then you have family, which is the extended people. But we didn't have that divide. Everyone was family, everyone was cousin. But my cousin, after her mother passed away, she came to live with us, and she became my de facto sister. And the relationship in Om Jou Te Ken is very much inspired by me and Shona's relationship, because we had that same, we lived through the same experiences, we had the same parents, we was treated equal in all measures, and yet we were so different personalities. And I think that sort of is a breeding ground for both love and both conflict, and I wanted to explore that. And a relationship with family is kind of something that marks or is a characteristic of my writing work, family, where I come from. And much of the story plays off in my hometown, which is Berkeley West. I'm going to include some cool B-roll for you. And yeah, it's a small town, and everything I've learned, the person I am is very much grounded in that. So that is another character. It is not as prominent as I would like it to be, but it will be in future books.
When I was in school, I was your typical bookworm. I was always somewhere with my nose stuck in a book, and I absolutely hated sports. I didn't play rugby, I sucked at tennis, I enjoyed athletics, but I was always the guy who came third or fourth in every race. So not being into sports, I always felt a little left out, as I imagine many kids do feel. But then in my adult life, something strange happened. A few years back, I discovered running, specifically road running. It started out with 5-kilometer races, then I did 10-kilometer races, and eventually I ended up doing a few marathons, and I even completed the 90-kilometer Comrades Marathon twice. So when I decided I wanted to write a comic book for kids, I was going to incorporate my love of running into this story. The book that I wrote is called Techies. It's about a guy called Zander. Now, Zander's family is sports mad. They love sports. They're your family who are standing by the rugby field every single Saturday cheering the kids on. But then a year ago, something strange happened. Zander decided he's quitting all school sports. He's no longer playing rugby. He doesn't want to participate in any sports. Now, Zander's older brother is the school's sports star, especially in rugby. So his family can't understand why he quit playing rugby. Zander enjoys running. That's the only sport he does. And he doesn't do it competitively. He puts on his techies and he goes running in the morning. But then, on one of his runs, Zander meets a girl he really likes. And this girl's mum is the coach of the local cross-country team. And she convinces Zander to try out for the school's cross-country team. And he loves it. But even while he's participating and he gets chosen for the team, he's keeping it a secret from his family. And there is a big reason why Zander doesn't want his family to know that he's taking part in cross-country. I really enjoyed writing this story. Writing in the comic book genre has been a wonderful challenge, which I really enjoyed. And I think Alistair Ackerman, who did the illustrations, did a magical job. These characters are created so wonderfully, and I hope you're going to have as much fun with Techies as I did creating this book.
My name is Twanelo Seromola and I am the author of Wonderfully Made. It is such a pleasure to sit here in front of you today to just tell you a little bit more about myself. So I am 23 years of age and I have always had a profound love for children and a profound love for literature. So combining those two passions has brought me right here before you guys today. I am so excited for my debut children's book. It's going to be an interesting journey because I've been working on it alone for quite some time. So to finally share that with so many little readers is going to be a new kind of joy. I think it's just so important for young brown-skinned girls to have representation in children's books that they will be reading. If there's one thing that I would love little readers to take from my book, Wonderfully Made, is knowing that no matter where you come from, no matter how you look, no matter what color your skin is, you are able to grow up to be whoever you dream of becoming. And I think with that mentality installed in them from such a young age, we will really have such profound leaders in future. So thank you once again for taking this opportunity to work with me. I highly appreciate it and I look forward to meeting you all.
For me, writing a series of books is always great fun. You get to know the characters and before long, you know them by heart. You know exactly what they would do in certain situations and you can make them do funny stuff. You can think up madcap new adventures for them. Now, one of the series that I've written that I've enjoyed the most is the Minky Series. This series is about 3 girls who are best friends and who have all sorts of adventures together. And I think one of the reasons why I enjoy writing this series so much is the fact that the kids are more or less the same age as my own 2 daughters. And I love telling them about these stories while I'm writing it. There are 4 books in the series, and the 2 newest ones that are coming out are Minky Maak a Plan, in which Minky and her friends find a stray cat in Minky's garden. And they have to try and find the owner of this cat. But in the meantime, Minky's dog, Spaghetti, hates this cat, and he keeps chasing the cat, and Minky has to do her best to get these 2 to make friends. And then the second new one coming out is called Minky se Boekedag. And in this book, something terrible happens to Minky's best friend, Lara. Lara is on her way to a dance exam. She has a big dance exam coming up, and then she gets hurt and she can't take part in this dance exam. And she is down in the dumps. It's terrible for her. And Minky and Natalie decide they have a plan. They are going to organize a big book day at their school to try and take Lara's mind off the fact that she can't dance. As I've said, I really enjoy writing these stories, and I hope girls are going to have loads of fun reading them. Unfortunately, it's a fact that many kids nowadays don't enjoy reading. In fact, some of them hate reading. To me, it's a terrible fact, but unfortunately, it's a fact I have to deal with. And as a children's book author, over the years, I've made it my challenge to come up with books that will hopefully make reluctant readers pick up a book and enjoy the story. I've created a brand new series, which is especially aimed at more reluctant readers. This series is called Nick and Rick, and it's about two boys who get up to all sorts of funny mischief. I believe if you can tickle a kid's funny bone, you're well on the way to creating a reader. Now, Nick and Rick have two adventures coming out. The first one is called Roomys op die planeet Zork. And in this book, Nick and Rick decide they are going to take part in the school's market day, and they are going to sell ice cream and make loads and loads of money. But unfortunately, there's a girl in their class who's their arch enemy. Her name is Nanya, and Nanya steals their idea, and to make matters worse, she also starts a rumor that Nick and Rick are creating ice cream that tastes like broccoli and cauliflower and all sorts of gross things. That's the first book in the series, and then the second one is called Allergies vir Skool. And in this book, Nick and Rick take on an amazing challenge. They have an awful teacher called Miss Burke. They secretly call her Miss Burp. And Miss Burp doesn't have a sense of humor. She was born without a sense of humor. She doesn't have a funny bone. And Nanya challenges Nick and Rick. She tells Nick and Rick if they can make Miss Burke laugh by telling her a joke, she would do something very embarrassing. But if they don't manage to make this teacher laugh, they have to do something extremely embarrassing. If you want to find out who loses the day, you can read Allergies vir Skool. I hope these books will make kids laugh out loud and hopefully turn a few of them into bookworms.
Molweni, the twins are back. I'm very excited about this new story, the follow-ups to Know My Name. When we first got to meet Rorisang and Morenangam, we heard the story from Rorisang's point of view, and mostly following her journey and how she found her voice amidst change, where she learned that the most important thing a praise singer needs to do is learn how to praise herself first so that she's able to praise others. That was Rorisang's journey. Now we move to Morena and hear from his side. You know, Rorisang means praise in Sesotho, hence her journey unfolding with her becoming a praise singer. Carrying on with the theme that our names have an intention, Morena means king, which brings in leadership. In Know My Name, Morena was appointed captain of the softball team that him and Rorisang are part of. So we pick up from there, you know, what does that mean, Morena being captain of that team? What is the impact in his life? How do the people around him support him? Particularly his dad, because as Morena says, he's now his dad's project. But the amount of time they spend together with this aim, with once again an intention, you know, where Morena's quite a chilled guy, that's the guy we met in the first book. We now get to follow how he had to look at himself, his own life, the changes he made in his own life so that he could effect change in his leadership. So I'm very excited about this. Different perspective, same family, a family that I love, and I hope that you also love this family the twins, the friendships, the ups and downs of being 11 years old in your everyday life. So yeah, that is the new book, and I hope you enjoy it.